The prison planet. There is a growing sense, subtle yet persistent, that the world is not what it seems. Beneath the surface of normality, behind the daily routines, politics, and global affairs, lies an ancient system. To many, it feels like a dream we cannot wake up from, a reality governed by unseen forces. This feeling is not new. For decades, some have whispered of a controlled planet, a place shaped by a small group of elites who serve neither nations nor people, but only their ancient agenda. This idea, often referred to as the prison planet theory, shows that Earth is not truly free. Not politically, not financially, and certainly not spiritually. This planet has been shaped into a sophisticated control grid, a global illusion maintained by a few powerful families whose lineage stretches far beyond known history. These families, many believe, are not just wealthy or influential. They consider themselves the rightful heirs of Earth, the descendants of gods. Ancient knowledge. To understand this concept fully, we must step far back in time. Ancient texts from Sumer, Babylon, and Egypt speak of beings from the heavens, sky gods who descended to Earth. In some myths, they walked among men, in others they created humanity itself. These gods were not metaphors to the ancients. They were rulers, teachers, and sometimes tyrants. Over time, their physical presence faded, but they left something behind: bloodlines. Historical context shows how a few of these bloodlines remained intact, carefully preserved through arranged marriages and tightly knit dynasties. The belief is that these lineages, some say 13 of them, carried on the divine legacy, creating powerful institutions to ensure their survival and dominance. These families exist today not as myth, but as quiet rulers of our financial systems, our governments, and even our culture. They rarely appear on magazine covers or news broadcasts, but their influence is everywhere. Their power lies not in visibility, but in their ability to shape reality without our knowing. They create the framework in which we live through banking systems, educational models, pharmaceuticals, and digital media. They are not politicians in the traditional sense. Elected officials come and go. The true rulers do not change. Their control is generational, their reach global. Central to their influence are secret societies, exclusive orders where silence is sworn, and knowledge is passed in hushed rituals. The Freemasons, Skull and Bones, the Bilderberg Group, and more obscure entities like the Committee of 300 are often mentioned in connection with these ruling elites. These societies serve as both meeting places and mechanisms of control. Within these groups, agendas are set, narratives are crafted, and events are planned long before they unfold on the world stage. Throughout history, many world-changing events have been attributed to these hidden hands. Wars, financial collapses, and revolutions have all conveniently served the goals of these elites. But one of the most chilling examples of possible manipulation is the sinking of the RMS Titanic, the spider's web. The Titanic, we are told, was a tragic accident, a ship that struck an iceberg and went down on its maiden voyage. But another theory tells a darker tale. J.P. Morgan, the American financier and one of the most powerful men of his time, funded the Titanic's construction. He was scheduled to be aboard that fateful night, yet he canceled his trip at the last moment. On board, however, were several men who opposed the creation of the U.S. Federal Reserve, a banking institution that would centralize monetary control and concentrate power in private hands. All of these men died in the icy waters of the Atlantic. Months later, the Federal Reserve was created, transforming the American economy forever. Was the Titanic truly a tragedy of nature or a calculated removal of obstacles? This is not a lone example. From September 11th to orchestrated economic crashes, from engineered conflicts to the subtle manipulation of cultural values, the pattern remains the same. The goal is not simply wealth, it is control. Total control. Over thought, over time, over truth. The tools used to maintain this control are both physical and psychological. Economically, humanity is bound by invisible chains, debt, taxation, and inflation. Through fiat currency and global financial institutions, people are born into systems they can scarcely escape. The illusion of choice hides the reality of ownership. Politically, nations are pitted against each other in manufactured rivalries, all while decisions are made far above any parliament or Congress. Culturally, society is shaped to stay asleep. Entertainment distracts, media misleads, and education dilutes. Even the realm of health has not escaped this shadow. Ancient healing methods are ridiculed or outlawed. Pharmaceuticals are promoted not to cure, but to maintain dependency. Real food is replaced with processed chemicals. Humanity, under this lens, is not meant to thrive, only to survive. Technology, rather than freeing us, has become another layer of the cage. Surveillance is now accepted as normal. Devices once hailed as revolutionary have become tools of tracking, addiction, and subtle programming. The digital world offers the illusion of connection while slowly severing the natural ties of humans and the earth. The perfect storm. The prison is not perfect. Cracks are forming. Around the world, more people are asking questions, breaking free of programmed thought. Some call it the Great Awakening, not a political movement, but a spiritual one. Old systems are collapsing. Faith in institutions is eroding. The once silent masses are beginning to see the puppeteers behind the curtain. And here, the story takes a turn. Because this awakening, according to many mystics, contactees, and insiders, is not purely human in origin. For centuries, ancient texts and channeled messages have spoken of an interstellar alliance watching over Earth. This group, often referred to as the Galactic Federation, has remained hidden, guiding without interfering. Their role, according to these sources, is not to save us, but to support our awakening. They have waited until humanity reached a certain vibrational threshold, a level of awareness that allows us to reclaim sovereignty. Some say we are now approaching that point. When the old systems crumble and the elites lose their grip, the Federation may step forward, not with domination, but with knowledge. Technologies that have been suppressed, such as zero-point energy, advanced healing modalities, and faster-than-light travel, may finally be revealed. Not as gifts, but as inheritances. Humanity, long isolated, may soon be reintroduced to the greater cosmic community. As this new age unfolds, it is said we will remember who we truly are. Not slaves, not sinners, but sovereign beings. We are not just part of the earth. We are part of the stars. And those who sought to rule us, the ancient bloodlines and their secret orders, will find that their time has passed. Their rituals, their symbols, their control mechanisms, all relics of a dying age. What lies ahead is uncertain. There may still be resistance, conflict, and chaos. But beyond the shadows stands a golden horizon, a future shaped not by a chosen few, but by the awakening of the many. In the end, the prison planet is not just a story of control. It is a story of liberation. The bars were never physical. They were made of fear, illusion, and belief. As we see through them, they vanish. And in that moment, we discover the truth. We were never prisoners. We were always the key. The rise of the hidden rulers. They say history is written by the victors, but more often it is edited by the rulers. To understand how a small group came to dominate Earth, one must read between the lines of recorded history, beneath the dates and events taught in schools, into the deeper current of ancient power. What we find is not a random march of civilization, but a carefully guided evolution. Not for the benefit of humanity, but for the preservation of a bloodline and an ancient pact that predates even Babylon. It begins not in modern times, but in the time of the gods. The earliest human civilizations did not see divinity as abstract or distant. To them, the gods walked among them. From the Anunnaki of Sumer, the Netjeru of Egypt, the Devas of Vedic India, to the sky beings of Mesoamerica, the stories are eerily similar. A group of powerful beings descended from the stars, bringing knowledge, law, and kingship. They taught agriculture, mathematics, astronomy, and language, but they also demanded worship, obedience, and offerings. In Sumer, these beings were called the Anunnaki, those who came from heaven to earth. They ruled from ziggurats, created laws, and were served by a priestly class. Some ancient tablets describe how these beings created man as a labor force. Humanity was born not free, but as workers for the gods. The early kings of Sumer were said to rule by divine right, their blood blessed by the gods themselves. But this was not a metaphor. These early kings were often hybrids, said to carry the blood of the gods in their veins. As time passed, direct rule faded. The gods withdrew or were hidden, but their chosen lines remained. These divine bloodlines became royal families, high priests, and pharaohs. Power was passed not through merit, but through blood. From Sumer to Babylon, from Egypt to Rome, this pattern repeated. Each empire had its ruling elite who traced their ancestry to something greater than man. But it wasn't until Babylon that this system became refined into something more global. Babylon was not just an empire, it was a blueprint. There, the mixing of divine knowledge with human ambition birthed new tools of control: money, centralized religion, astrology, and the codified law. It was in Babylon that the seeds of secret societies were planted, brotherhoods that passed down forbidden knowledge, sacred geometry, and ritual power in whispers. The dawn of a new darkness. After the fall of Babylon, this hidden priesthood did not disappear. It simply migrated to Persia, to Greece, and finally to Rome. The Roman Empire would adopt not just the gods, but the system. Roman emperors, too, claimed divine lineage. The Vatican, later built upon Roman bones, became both spiritual and political, a key node in the global control grid. When Rome fell outwardly, its knowledge and structure did not die. It was preserved in the Holy Roman Empire, in knightly orders like the Templars, and in banking families who began to emerge during the Crusades. These families, often connected to both royalty and religious institutions, developed financial power by lending money to kings and popes. This was the beginning of the global banking elite, people who wielded more power than any monarch, yet whose names were rarely remembered. One such family was the Rothschilds, who rose in the 18th century by financing wars between European powers. It is said they bet on both sides, and whichever army won, they profited. Their influence grew until they had banks in every major capital, not to serve people, but to control nations through debt. It was no longer necessary to conquer a country with armies. It could be owned through loans. Meanwhile, secret societies like the Freemasons and Illuminati emerged across Europe, claiming ancient roots and mysterious initiations. Many members of the nobility, science, politics, and art were initiated into these groups. Their symbols appeared on architecture, currencies, and national seals, hidden in plain sight. These societies were not always evil, but within them were layers, and at the top of the pyramid sat those who preserved the ancient agenda, to maintain the bloodline and to control the masses. The British Empire, with its vast colonial reach, became another tool for global domination. The royal family, whose lineage can be traced back to Germanic and Frankish rulers, also claims descent from King David and Egyptian rulers. Whether symbolic or literal, these bloodline claims are taken seriously in elite circles. The empire spread not just language and industry, but a system of control through law, class, and commerce. By the 20th century, the elite had learned to hide behind the illusion of democracy and capitalism. Public figures came and went, but behind the scenes, the same bloodlines directed world events. Wars were orchestrated, borders were redrawn. Financial systems were established, including the Federal Reserve in the United States, a private institution controlled by a few banking families, not the government. With it, money could be printed from nothing, and nations could be enslaved through debt. Education was standardized to promote obedience, not awareness. Medicine became a profit machine, focused on symptoms, not cures. Energy systems remained fossil-based, though cleaner alternatives existed. Technologies were hidden or bought out before they could threaten the power structure. People were kept busy, distracted, and divided. Even culture was weaponized. Music, film, and art once elevated the human soul. Now they too often serve as tools of degradation, keeping consciousness low, attention fractured, and desire manipulated. A well-fed, entertained population, the elites learned, will rarely rebel. And yet, despite all of this, cracks have begun to appear. Whistleblowers from military and intelligence agencies have hinted at hidden extraterrestrial contact. Ancient knowledge is being rediscovered. Spiritual awakenings are happening on a massive scale. And there are signs, subtle but undeniable, that the control system is failing. The Greater Awakening. Many believe that this ancient group, once protected by secrecy and ceremony, is now being watched. That a higher order, the Galactic Federation, or a similar alliance, is working quietly, waiting for the right moment to assist humanity's return to sovereignty. This federation, it is said, has prevented certain catastrophes, neutralized advanced weapons, and ensured the survival of Earth during cosmic cycles. The elites know this. Their rituals have grown more frantic, their censorship more extreme, and their attempts to control the narrative more desperate. Because they feel it too, the shift, the end of an age, the return of light. We are not here by accident. We are not born to be ruled. We are the children of stars, heirs to a forgotten legacy of power, harmony, and connection. The prison planet is only real if we believe in its walls. But walls built on lies crumble when exposed to truth. The old rulers, their bloodlines, and their systems may try to tighten their grip. But the tide is turning. The veils are lifting. The watchers are near, and the age of remembering has begun. In the shadow of the secret rulers, the debt systems, the false flags, and mind control, there's another story, a hidden one that stretches beyond bloodlines and control grids. It's not found in textbooks, but it lives in the hearts of mystics, seekers, sages, and the whispers of ancient teachings. It tells us that Earth is not just a trap. It is also a test, a mirror, a school. And the prison is not made of stone or iron, it's made of belief. The idea that our world is a simulation or a matrix is no longer just science fiction. Even brilliant minds like Nick Bostrom, Elon Musk, and physicist James Gates have pointed to mathematical patterns in our reality that suggest it may be a highly advanced, encoded construct. In quantum physics, the observer affects the observed, and consciousness appears to shape reality itself. Space, time, and matter may not be as solid as we think. These are the cracks in the surface, showing us that reality is far stranger and more flexible than we've been told. Ancient spiritual traditions have known this for millennia. In Gnosticism, the world is ruled by a false god, the demiurge, a being who created the material realm to trap divine sparks, souls. The Gnostics believed that the true God existed beyond this world and that liberation came through inner knowledge, gnosis. Their texts, buried for centuries and rediscovered in Nag Hammadi in 1945, speak of archons, beings who feed on fear, control perception, and distract souls from awakening. In Hinduism, the concept of Maya describes the world as an illusion, a veil that hides the true eternal self, the Atman, from recognizing its oneness with all that is, Brahman. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that the soul is not the body nor the mind, but something deeper that wears lifetimes like clothes. Plato wrote of the allegory of the cave, where humans chained in darkness believe shadows are reality, until one escapes, sees the light, and realizes the truth. His mentor, Socrates, claimed that the soul's journey was one of remembering, that all knowledge already exists within. Even Christianity, when stripped of dogma, hints at this. Christ taught that the kingdom of God is within, that truth shall set us free, and warned of the rulers of this world who operate in darkness. In esoteric Christianity, Jesus is seen not just as a savior, but as a revealer, one who came to wake us up from spiritual sleep. So what if this matrix, this prison planet, is not just a trap, but a lesson? Imagine Earth as the most advanced spiritual simulation in the universe. A dense, immersive realm where souls come to forget who they are, to experience polarity, and to choose. Here, love has meaning because hate exists. Compassion matters because cruelty is real. In comfort, growth is slow. But in chaos, growth is accelerated. What if we chose to be here? According to Dolores Cannon, a pioneering regression hypnotherapist, many souls volunteered to incarnate on Earth to help raise its frequency. She spoke of waves of souls who came from higher dimensions to assist during this crucial time, a time she and others called the Great Awakening. Other theories speak of soul contracts, agreements made before birth to undergo certain trials, meet specific people, and face challenges designed to teach deep lessons. Even the elites, the dark systems, and the suffering, painful as they are, may be part of the curriculum. This doesn't excuse evil or justify suffering, but it reframes it as something to transform, not just endure. Many now believe that this matrix has been hijacked, corrupted by those who seek to keep humanity looping in fear, distraction, and trauma. The control system tries to keep us locked in the lower chakras: survival, sex, and ego. It floods our senses with fear and entertainment to prevent us from turning inward. Because the moment we remember who we are, infinite beings of consciousness, the game begins to change. Tools of awakening are returning: meditation, sound healing, breathwork, plant medicine, sacred geometry, astrology, and numerology. These were not trends. They are keys. Keys the ancient priesthoods used to open the gates of perception, and which were hidden or demonized by the very forces that seek control. We are now in what many call the shift of the ages, a transition from the age of Pisces, faith, authority, hierarchy, into the age of Aquarius, knowledge, freedom, unity. This shift is marked by solar cycles, cosmic alignments, and a rising of collective consciousness. It is no coincidence that ancient texts spoke of a coming golden age, a time when the veils would lift, the hidden would be revealed, and humanity would ascend. The Mayans, whose calendar ended not with apocalypse but with transition, called it the return of the ancestors. The Hopi spoke of a time when the earth would shake, and those of the heart would rise. Many indigenous prophecies speak of a rainbow people, souls from all races and lands who would rise to heal the earth. And so we stand at the edge of two worlds, the crumbling prison of the past and the emerging light of the future. The hidden rulers may still pull their strings, but their time is short. The frequency of Earth is rising. Schumann resonance spikes are increasing. People are awakening, not to one truth, but to themselves. And when enough awaken, the matrix can no longer hold. This isn't just about politics or conspiracies or old families guarding old secrets. It's about remembering why you came. You are not a prisoner. You are a soul, dreaming the dream of limitation, here to awaken from within and help others do the same.